Good morning. Thank you for joining us today as we tackle an important subject matter for our industry and respective economies. Rebuilding intra-Caribbean travel, removing barriers and building bridges to recapture over 1 billion in lost annual revenues and beyond. A two-part discussion brought to you by the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. My name is Vanessa Ledesma, and today's session will focus on restoring and building your destination and business through intra-Caribbean travel. To the CHTA members joining us, we value your continued support and encourage you to maximize the resources and tools available to you. If your company is not a CHTA member, you are missing on valuable resources to support your business continuity. We need and want your involvement. Join the My CHTA community today by contacting us at membership@caribbeanhotelandtourism.com. Our session yesterday focused on providing an overview of the profile of the intra-Caribbean traveler and understanding the obstacles and opportunities for stimulating the recovery of this important segment, which has yet to bounce back. Let's recap these to provide a frame of reference for our discussion today. The obstacles include taxation and high fees, entry requirements, lack of marketing support to promote intra-Caribbean travel, limited collaboration between destinations within the region, and of course, the COVID impact on festivals and entertainment activities. On the positive side, these are the opportunities. Raising awareness of the Caribbean product within the region, diversity of product, which equates to a variety of experiences to be offered to the traveler. Inter-Caribbean travel is not only for our citizens, we must also expand and develop this segment within global visitors. And domestic travel, regional travel in this case, helps address seasonality, using culture and heritage as catalysts. Let's consider also that we're developing programs and packages for a new type of traveler, one that is looking for unique and meaningful experiences, and it's increasing their length stay. According to TravelZoo, data up to 8 nights for the US traveler. Our panelists share some food for thought as we collectively evaluate and identify opportunities to restore and grow intra-Caribbean travel. These are continued collaboration, consistency in entry requirements, investing in advertising in the region. Reduction of taxes and fees does not mean reduction of revenue. And of course, more importantly, one Caribbean. Think and act like one destination. We know multi-destination tourism. Today, our experts will be sharing how you can build and grow your destination and business within this exciting and enticing market. With that, I will introduce our first industry expert today, Christopher Gustav, Marketing Manager, Caribbean, Sports and Events for the St. Lucia Tourism Authority. Christopher, over to you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Special good morning to the panelists, as well as all the CHTA members watching. Okay. Next slide, please. I'd like to begin. So I'm here today to talk about the Caribbean brand, which is our brand, or the St. Lucia Tourism Authority's brand, focused on the Caribbean market. It's especially the consumer market. The Caribbean brand was started sometime in 2018, and one of our key activities, I'd like to say, is using a lot of digital media to showcase St. Lucia. And when I say digital media, we use images that look like us, look and feel like we show Caribbean people in all the glory. That's what I like to say. The platform that we created is also in French and English, and the Caribbean residents, one of the key things about the Caribbean platform in particular is that Caribbean nationals and residents benefit directly by receiving discounted Caribbean rates from both small and large accommodation providers. In terms of some of the things that we do, we invite Caribbean celebrities to show them all the activity and all the highlights of St. Lucia. So I'd like to share with you some data. In 2019, St. Lucia recorded the greatest ever number of Caribbean arrivals. All right. The Caribbean was only second to the US market in terms of arrivals. The French West Indies is the #1 source of Caribbean arrivals, followed by the Trinidad and Tobago. That's why everything we do, and I just want to reiterate that on caribcation.org and as well as our social media platforms, that we focus on ensuring that it's bilingual. We have both French and English texts. And the good thing about focusing on the Caribbean is that everybody knows that the traditional tourism months are from November to March. But as you see, with the Caribbean market, it's really in the non-traditional months that business pick up. As you could see in 2019, July through September was our busiest time, and this is driven by summer vacation. A lot of Caribbean parents want to take their kids out to bring them for summer vacation, etc. Carnival in July in St. Lucia, we get a lot of our Caribbean brothers and sisters supporting us. Additionally, we have festivals like Roots and Soul, Mercury Fest / Mercury Beach, where we get a tremendous amount of people coming in to participate at these events. In 2020, what we saw because of the COVID, we saw a dramatic decrease in our arrivals and from the Caribbean. Additionally, in 2021, the recovery was relatively very slow. And we were not touching anywhere close to our 2019 numbers. But what we're seeing in right now, we're seeing a little bit of an improvement. In fact, for the first 2 months of this year, we up 900% from where we were in 2021. So we're seeing the signs that things are improving. And with relaxation of more and more protocols, I believe, for example, St. Lucia now fully vaccinated, there's no test requirements, no form requirements. So you could easily just come to St. Lucia, easier than it's ever been for the last 2 years. So we're kind of excited about that. Next slide, please. Another major area of concern is that the airlift, it's just not where it used to be. Liat, for example, is functioning at under 8% in 2022 of where it was in 2019. For example, in St. Lucia, we used to get over 152 flights from Liat a month. Now we getting about 13. So Liat alone, our monthly flight capacity, our seats, we're down over almost 7,000 seats alone. And overall, the capacity is down by over 8,000 seats compared to December of 2019. One bright spot is Intra-Caribbean. As you could see on the chat, they increased their flights from 19 to 47. So we're seeing some increase in flights from them. Caribbean Airlines, for example, and I know Alicia is here and she will talk about it, is that presently we get in about 27% of the monthly flights, monthly that we used to get in 2019. And hopefully, as I want to reiterate, as conditions improve on the ground and the protocols become more relaxed, we see that the demand is growing, and we anticipate that things will go back to normal, especially if airlines like Caribbean Airlines to go back to the pre-COVID schedule. Next slide, please. So in closing, I just want to give a sense of hope in terms of the way we inspire our recovery and why the Caribbean market is so important. All right, as you know, St. Lucia is one of the leading honeymoon destinations in the world, and we will focus on that market, especially we will focus on that market, wedding and honeymoon, as a wedding and honeymoon destination. St. Lucia presently is going up for our 14th leading honeymoon destination World Travel Award this year. So we're excited about that. Additionally, we'll also promote family vacations, especially in places like Trinidad and Tobago, where huge families come over to St. Lucia. Some of them do a lot of, and the good thing about Caribbean travel especially, I just want to point that out, is they use a lot of non-traditional accommodation. So they stay in the alternative accommodation sector a lot. So you've seen huge families come over and they're renting an entire villa, renting an entire house. So that's one of the key strengths of the Caribbean market. So the dollar and they spend that actually goes into the community. They rent cars, they go to restaurants, they go to grocery stores, and they really live within the community. So that's a very key point when targeting the Caribbean market. They really influence the local economy. So another thing, another strategy that we're going to use, we're going to develop and promote our regional sporting events a lot more. We have a series of sporting events coming up and that we're excited about, from the Veteran Masters football competition, where we see teams from all over the Caribbean coming and playing St. Lucia. We also have the CPL returning. We're excited about that as well. And also our biggest event on our calendar coming up, we have Carnival. And this year it's going to be, I mean, the demand is so great. People are so excited about coming to St. Lucia for Carnival. And every year our product has been improving, and we haven't been able to do it for the last 2 years. And people are excited, I tell you. So in order for all these things to happen, the airlift situation must return to pre-COVID levels. And I'm happy that we have both Mr. Sadler and Ms. Cabral on the call, so that they could talk and explain what we can do and what we can work out to ensure that our airlift returns to pre-COVID levels. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christopher, for that insight from a destination perspective. Now we go into, from a company perspective, successful company strategies for tapping into intra-Caribbean traveler market. And for that, we welcome Sanap Nikdastan, Executive Director, Bay Gardens Resorts.
Thank you for that, Vanessa, and morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to this very important webinar. So, Chris, thank you for setting the stage, especially for the situation in St. Lucia. Our Bay Gardens Resorts, we've got 4 properties and two villas based in St. Lucia. And as Chris mentioned, the Caribbean market was pre-COVID a very important market, second only to the United States in terms of arrivals and ahead of the United Kingdom and Canada. And within St. Lucia, our Bay Gardens properties traditionally had dominant market share among Caribbean travelers who opted to stay at hotels. As Chris mentioned, many of them, more than half of them, actually tended to stay in alternative accommodation providers, Airbnbs and friends and family and villas, etc. We also had about 35% of our travelers pre-COVID at Bay Gardens being from the Caribbean. And if one were to include the Caribbean diaspora, it was close to 50%. And the large majority of our 500 plus vacation club and timeshare owners at the Bay Gardens Beach Resort were from the Caribbean and the Caribbean diaspora, particularly Trinidad. Some of the reasons that our travelers have told us and our clients have told us that they love the Bay Gardens properties. Our location is very important. We're in Rodney Bay, in the heart of the entertainment district, near the shopping and restaurants. As Chris mentioned, Caribbean people like to get out and about and they like to explore the island. The fact that we're also St. Lucian and locally owned and operated, and I like to say authentically and unapologetically Caribbean. Yes, you're going to get hamburgers, but it's going to be really, the patty is going to be really well seasoned. And yes, you're going to find club sandwiches, but it's probably going to have plantain in it. Trust me, it works. They feel at home when they're at our properties, not treated differently, which is extremely important to our Caribbean travelers. Near major sporting venues and event venues such as Carnival, the Jazz Festival, Roots and Soul, value for money is also very important, particularly for our travelers from the French West Indies. Conference facilities, language. Chris mentioned, that we have our collateral in English and French at a destination level. We do the same at a property level. And also for the French West Indies, while we don't have a large portion of our staff speaking French, the majority, including all of our GMs, sadly not myself, are very fluent in French Creole, which is the language that we use to communicate in St. Lucia with our partners in the French Caribbean. And the marketing and images used is so important. It has to showcase Caribbean people, Caribbean food and culture and attractions that they actually care about seeing when they're on island. You could go to the next slide. So that was just a quick slide to just show the importance of imagery. Over to the left, you see a typical snapshot of our Instagram page and what it would look like. And because the majority of our travelers tend to be from the Caribbean, we don't have to work very hard to showcase that, to showcase Caribbean people in our images. We incorporate the diversity that the Caribbean has to offer in our imagery of food, and of course showcasing the culture and our Jeu de Creole activities, for example, that happen every Creole Heritage Month in October. So you can go to the next slide. Some of the key marketing strategies that we've used, mostly pre-pandemic, but still, during the pandemic, our Caribbean rates. Chris mentioned the Caribbean brand that he saw in 2018. I was actually on the marketing committee of the Tourism Authority when the Caribbean brand was born, so to speak. And the idea was to make sure that that staycation rates, because the staycation brand had been around for quite some time, which are available to locals, are made available to our Caribbean brothers and sisters. The argument being that they are sort of an extension of ourselves. So we've always offered those rates under the Caribbean brand year round, and SLT has certainly helped to promote it. And your heavy use of online marketing is critical. Now, I know everyone does this, but I found that social media is particularly cost effective in targeting persons from the Caribbean market, because the cost per click is so low, and they're heavy users of social media and heavily inspired by social media compared even to other markets. So we use that a lot. And really focusing our marketing on showcasing the selling points that Caribbean people care about the most. So a lot of imagery focused on the major attractions, such as the Sulphur Springs, Pigeon Island, but also the bars and the nightlife, and the off the beaten track things that Caribbean people like to experience. And it's extremely important, I think, to recognize that the Caribbean traveler really is not homogenous. In the past, I think we've always thought that the typical Caribbean traveler was here for festivals, which is true. That's a critical time when they do come. But to some extent, they also want a lot of the same things that our travelers from North America and Europe want. And they also want to have honeymoons and weddings in St. Lucia. They also want to come as a family and group travel, both for leisure and for business. So making sure that we don't pigeonhole, the Caribbean traveler and showcase all of our products to them, to showcase themselves enjoying all of these products is important. And of course, making sure that your hard copy is in French, where applicable and where possible as well. So in terms of the way forward as we come out of the pandemic, throughout the border closures, one of the things that we have done, if you were to look at Bay Garden social media, you'll know from the time the pandemic started, we never said we were closed. We never used the word closed. We knew borders were closed, but we kept the message positive, that we'll be here for you when the time is right. We've had to keep that message a little longer than I'd like for the Caribbean, because it's been the slowest market to recover. But we've always made sure that we kept focus on that market and stimulating them. In Christmas of 2020, for example, when it was clear that travelers from that market were not going to be able to really join us for Christmas, from Trinidad, from the UK, from the French West Indies, we had virtual, Château Noel and Parang Christmas parties for them, to showcase to them that we'll be here for you, and you'll still be able to enjoy, the Bay Gardens culture and vibe when you are able to come back. Being adaptable has been critically important. We offer packages right now, for example, that offer free return antigen testing, for markets where that's applicable. And I think Chris mentioned, of course, the importance of resurrecting certain key markets such as events and sports tourism. I don't think hoteliers and accommodation providers should be passive in that. You need to actively work with your DMO and collaborate with them in finding ways to stimulate and get that market back. And SLT has been a great partner in that, especially in the sports tourism market, getting these back on place, whether it's with protocol adaptations or asking our advice on what on bubble arrangements and other things that we could do as a hotel to make these sporting events happen. Influencers have been key. I think Chris mentioned it, but it really has been critical. And we just had influencer from Barbados who DJ Puffy, who showcased the destination in the best way that I'd seen in a long time. He showcased everything. And I think having influencers from the Caribbean who collaborate with hotels, restaurants, and attractions to showcase the destination in its entirety and in all of its glory, beyond just the sun, sea, and sand, I think is very, very important. Ultimately, this market, I believe, will come back. Our data and our analytics show that the interest is as strong and if not even stronger from some of these markets. But airlift and access is going to be key. We can't get back to normal if we only have 30% of our airlift. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from Caribbean Airlines and other airlines on this call, what the demand is, what they're seeing, and what their plans are. Because access to the ferry services and airlines is really going to be key to our recovery. That's it from me, and my contact details are here in case anyone has any questions about our strategies. Happy to share all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanavnik. We'll get back to you. We have some questions for you, but we want to continue the conversation. We remind the audience, if you have any questions, to post them on the chat. Now we're going to see the perspective of local tour operators and strategies to stimulate intra-regional travel. And for that, we welcome Jessie Lee Loom, Regional Manager for Sun Tours Caribbean.
Hi, morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me with this esteemed panel of speakers and guests. Just to give you a little background, I have worked with the Sun Group of companies for the past 5 years and have recently taken on this role of regional manager. So my face might be new to many of you. Okay, so I wanted to start with obstacles. We have gone through a lot of this already, but COVID was obviously and still remains a major obstacle for us. I wanted to echo what Trevor said yesterday, that it just completely decimated business. We depend so much on tourism, and that abrupt halt was a major hit to us. The second hindrance for us was the stringent protocols and testing requirements, which we would have spoken a lot about, and hopefully that's well into improving. An example for us, particularly in Barbados, is we had guests that would come to the island, test positive, and then have to stay on at their own expense. So that was a big, big challenge, and actually to today still continues to be a challenge, particularly in Barbados. The next obstacle, which we've been speaking about for the past couple of days, is this airlift challenge between islands. It is a key factor in stimulating intra-Caribbean travel. And I mean, the obvious obstacles to that are the high pricing and this lack of direct routes between islands. But pricing doesn't just fall into the airlines and the government's hands. I think that it does sort of go across the board. Particularly speaking for myself, businesses on the ground, DMCs, tour suppliers, accommodations, we do need to really focus and look at what our CARICOM rates are, what our regional rates are. It's so great to hear that St. Lucia, you all have had your Caribcation program, which I think is amazing. And that has really helped to stimulate intra-Caribbean travel to your island as well. In Barbados in particular, we have local rates. So Bajans can get a local rate versus a tourist rate. And it's a significant difference. And I think that really helps to stimulate the economy when we're not busy with tourists. So I think that we need to, similar to what Nicola would have said yesterday with the Disney example, I think that is something that we need to adopt in the Caribbean as well, to have that favorable rate for regional travelers. And relationships between DMCs and suppliers and travel agents, I think, is really important. I'm going to talk a lot about relationships in my presentation, because I think that that is where the foundation lies to make sure that we are providing better experiences and packages to regional travelers. Yeah, I think that it's something that we just need to continue to work on. Next slide, please. Okay, so some of our strategies to encourage stimulation from a DMC standpoint. So where do we stand? So the majority of our business in the DMC is international, but we really feel that there is so much more room for regional collaboration. And even though the regional traveler tends to be more independent and do their own thing, I think that if we as DMCs are able to show more value, essentially we are your on-island concierge. So, you can call us for anything. So if a traveler is coming to the island and they have no idea how to get around, what to do, we're essentially your go-to person. So I think that that is where we need to focus on, okay, well, how do we present and show what our value is to the regional traveler? Just immediate effect would be discounted rates that we would have in place for regional passengers. We already actually do have discounted rates. I think what our challenge is marketing that to the right channels to make sure that everybody understands and knows what service we are providing. And we are predominantly a commission-based company, so it would be crucial for us to partner with tour suppliers on the islands to ensure that we're putting the best possible rates forward to regional passengers. So improve and develop relationships. This is a point that I keep bringing up. And just to follow on from my last point, it is going to be really important for us to develop and maintain those relationships with tour suppliers to make sure that there are CARICOM and regional rates in place. Similar to our local rate, I'd like to be able to say, well, okay, well, this is our local rate, this is our CARICOM rate, and this is our tourist rate. So that is really important. And I think our relationship with travel agencies is going to have a lot of room for improvement and just a lot of room for communication, as they are the first point of call for many regional travelers, just to make them aware of who we are and what we do so that we can help them tailor regional packages for their customers. So I wanted to talk quickly about some fresh ideas for new tour products. I think that this is probably more of a long-term goal, but we think that there's some room to tailor experiences for the regional market. And, work closely with travel agents to get advice on what they think their clients' needs are and to tailor something for them so that seeing the island is a priority and they can create lasting memories, that they'd want to come back. And yeah, so just basically creating those tour packages specifically for the regional traveler, I think could bring a lot of new life into the market. And just finishing off, looking into the future, I think I'm just going to echo what so many of the panelists have already said, this need for, regional thinking and the fast implementation of ideas. There's a real need for us to continue to work together and make things happen.
Thank you, Jessie, for that insight. I'll get back to you on a matter that you mentioned when we go to the questions. We've been talking a lot about air capacity as one of the challenges and opportunities as well. And with that, I'm going to introduce Alicia Cabrera, Executive Manager, Marketing and Loyalty for Caribbean Airlines, who will share some insights with regards to promotional collaborations and partnerships. Alicia?
Hi, good morning. It's good to connect with you all, and I'm hearing, you know, the pain as it relates to airlift and, you know, us really being there to connect. And I hope our exchange here today will ignite some big ideas, and that we will be able to seize the opportunities at the end of the day. I just want to share that at the start of 2022, Caribbean Airlines launched our new campaign, Reset Expectations. And this campaign was purpose-driven and an expression of the revitalization of our brand. And when I say revitalization, I really mean revitalization of our brand's position and our recommitment to the essential human need to make connections through travel. And I know, you know, this is something that's easier said than done, in that we are in an environment where the word recovery is also something very important and very, you know, critical at this time. We delivered a 360-degree campaign that was an artful mix of digital and traditional media. But this campaign was not just window dressing. It was mainly something that where we actually revitalized our fleet. And during those months when no one was really flying, and there was a focus on repatriation services, we were also focused on developing significant product enhancements to meet the moment where we are at now. We're still in recovery mode. Booking windows are now narrower, where usually 60% of summer would have already been booked by April. And I'm talking about April as in now. Flights would be fully booked, people will be requesting charters, etc. Nevertheless, we see a slight increase in load factors, and there is opportunity. We're working our way to recovery. And you know what they say, if you want to go alone. If you want to go far, we have to work together. So I'm really happy that, you know, that we're here together today. And we are really looking at this as an opportunity to work together. So I just want to share, if we can move to the next slide, some of the things and some of the initiatives that we're working with as we relaunch and rebuild our partnerships. We will be relaunching our vacations program very soon. And I know that, Christopher, we've been talking about during that gap, how we can work with you to stimulate some more traffic into St. Lucia. And we've been having a lot of direct discussions on that. However, our vacations program will be coming very, very soon. And I'd like to invite all hoteliers, if you are not already on board, to partner with us. There's a lot of opportunity for Caribbean vacations and tours. That being said, co-marketing and funding, as we heard yesterday, is a significant opportunity. We have joint promotions, for example, with 2 agencies who said, send us a plan. And we have had feedback from them, like, let's say within a week, approved budgets ready to go. Because while we can share, there are a lot of opportunities to share advertising costs. I think we are still dependent on the media, traditional media. And if we can work together to push our messages out, I think that is really gonna go a long way as it relates to budgets, because we are in this together. There are times where digital media, definitely we have great platforms that can be shared. There are times when we also require help in terms of investment, so that we're really calling on you for that level of support. Joint advertising and promotional blitzes are essential to building consideration. There are also shared opportunities through our highly robust direct marketing channels through e-marketing. We have our onboard in-flight advertising channels. I know many of you already advertise through our Caribbean B channels. There's also our Caribbean Essence in-flight advertising screens. They're excellent tracks for destination marketing through our in-flight advertising mediums. So this, and think about it, we have an audience that has already demonstrated a propensity to travel. So if you have not advertised with us, I'm also saying, let's have a discussion, because as customers return, you have an opportunity to showcase your brand. So I heard some of you, I heard Christopher and someone spoke about influencer marketing initiatives. You know, I really agree that this is really big on the agenda right now, because I'm seeing where at the launch of Reset Expectations, this has delivered big for us, whether it's micro, even some of the more prominent influencers. The question is, you know, they come to us and they say, where can we stay? You know, who will take care of the tours? I think this is a great opportunity where we can work together as partners and promote our products and track the success of that together. So I think this is a really something that if you are willing to work with us, you know, it's something that we can really build together. Charters, groups, and corporate services are also specialized areas that we have focused on. And this is something that where we can help you as festivals reopen, whether it's small or large groups. We receive hundreds of requests from event promoters, sporting teams. We see CPL, you know, it's big in Guyana and throughout the Caribbean. You know, we are here to provide the solution to get to those destinations. This is an opportunity for us to join forces to meet the demand and amplify those benefits. Another area that we have been building is our loyalty and the frequent flyer miles platform. During the early days of the pandemic, we extended the validity period for frequent flyer members. And now our members have been using those miles. What we are also doing is creating a travel portal for hoteliers and tour operators. And it's really an opportunity for you to come on board so that members, when they stay at your resort, they will be able, or even take tours, they will be able to earn miles. So that if you're interested in coming on board, and being part of that travel portal, I'm saying that it's going to be a great opportunity for you if you're interested, and so that we can partner together so that customers can see the value of staying at your resort, flying with us, and eventually being able to see value. I mean, loyalty is something that's really big. So here's another opportunity that we can partner together. There is also, in addition to the frequent flyer program, there's also another element of our loyalty suite called Club Caribbean. Club Caribbean is a paid membership program where a sector of our customers they can actually pay for additional services. And when they go into, let's say it's priority check-in, or even if they stay at hotels, probably you're willing to give a discount, or go for a tour, probably you're willing to give a discount at the tour. These are also opportunities where you can showcase your program. So we are on a mission to secure even more collaborations. And I look forward to talking with each of you to discover more ways where we can support and build an even more powerful Caribbean travel market. So this is my pitch to you to say, basically, come on board with Caribbean Airlines as we have revitalized our product. And we are also looking at our network so that, I mean, it's really based on demand and supply. And while It's really
Thank you,
based on
Alicia.
demand and supply.
I'm so sorry to cut you off. We're just mindful of time. We want to make sure that we allow time for questions. Alicia's contact information is on the presentation, which will be available for all of our audience. And now we turn over to Trevor Sattler, CEO of Inter-Caribbean Airways. Trevor, if you can briefly highlight opportunities for collaborations and partnerships. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, fellow panelists and members of the audience joining us. For a moment, I dropped off. I wasn't sure if that was my my connection or what happened, but hopefully you can hear me well at this point.
Yes.
So I have to say a lot has been said, and I very much appreciate to hear the St. Lucia presentation, specifically what it has been doing with the Caribbean elements and with with Bay Gardens initiatives to roll out greater Caribbean awareness. You know, we're a little bit new to the Eastern Caribbean region with respect to our presence there, and so it is that while we've been growing the number of flights and indeed the numbers are positive to see with respect to our arrivals in St. Lucia, you know, we don't believe we're anywhere near where the opportunity is. Of course, we had only information with respect to the past, and the past is often a good guide for the future. But with COVID decimating everything we knew, it was a matter of resetting the clock and then rebuild as we can move along. I appreciate to hear what Caribbean Airlines had to say. I think many of those initiatives are mirrored in terms of our own initiatives, in terms of what we'd like to do. We may be a competitor on one hand, but on another, we are actually complementary to one another. We do have interline agreements in place with Caribbean Airlines, and with fairly high frequency travelers fly one direction with us and onward or return with Caribbean Airlines. So it is that we both can compete, and at the same time we can cooperate. Now, I've long advocated for promoting the inter-Caribbean vacation for Caribbean people. It is increasingly, I think, important that that destinations turn their attention and some of their dollars to promoting their destinations to the people of the Caribbean, be it the island next door, or the island 3 islands away. It is, I believe, Sanovic or Christopher, I'm not sure who mentioned it now, but the matter of imagery, and you know, without wanting to be impolite, I've had to share with some destinations that you have this fantastic destination and every picture you have is so terrible that you do nothing to actually promote your destination by giving the media and others horrible imagery that you undersell yourself. And images, as indicated, are clearly one of those leading things that put the dream in front of everyone to dream about where they're going. So we certainly, as we've moving our way through recovery, we look to the opportunities. There's an area which I've brought up more than once, and I would regard seeing lukewarm reception. Maybe it was just the wrong time, but it is in many of the travel journeys that we offer across the Caribbean, the possibility of having a short stay or a stayover vacation, i.e. be it 1 day, 2 day, perhaps 3 days. And for this part, I encourage where government needs to step in and say that we're willing to forego X number of these taxes on such a journey, that the money goes into the stay, to the experience, the accommodation in which that person is, the feeding at the destination, because everyone's going to eat somewhere with some frequency during their stay, and spend money, or perhaps much, much more money. But we can, in our environment, we can create a through fare that gives you the ability for a 24, 48, 72-hour stay and maintain that same airfare. But to make it truly attractive, we've got to engage government, say, I won't charge you any taxes, or I'll charge you $10, whatever might be the number, on a very short stay. So every destination is going to get the traffic it's going to get, but it doesn't look towards this folks who are in transit, and I could spend a day, or I could spend 2 days, or it's perhaps the weekend on my way to business, and I can bring my wife, so I double the number of travelers on the trip. So it is that there is opportunities to focus on some of this. Now, Stanovic mentioned about pricing year round, and I had this in my notes with respect to destinations who are often proud of their average daily rates of their hotels, which tells you how much can I charge you to stay in my property. And that's wonderful. In each market is different, but it is that if we can encourage some of the destinations and the hoteliers in these destinations to look at off-peak pricing, i.e. attract the Caribbean audience with some of the pricing that you're willing to discount, focusing on the Caribbean traveler in the non-peak moments. You don't have to feel you've compromised any revenue streams, but give the Caribbean traveler the opportunity in these off-peak moments where maybe I don't have the same earning power or the potential as those peak travelers, but I'm no less wanting to enjoy the experience if I can afford it. So we have to have greater engagement with hoteliers to say, I'm willing to consider that that approach, or the Disney type model where there is pricing for the Caribbean traveler, perhaps a little different from your longer haul travelers coming into the market. Now, with respect to promoting the destinations, I've said yesterday, and I've said often, that there is little spend within the region by each of the destinations. We see each country having massive spends across the North American shows, the European shows in particular, not very much consideration for South America. And if I would not to be critical of Christopher's presentation with respect to things are in English and in French, that is telling the Spanish audience, in effect, you're maybe not welcome because you don't communicate with me in my language. So you're an English speaker, you're a French speaker.
I actually would like just to, and I'm sorry to cut you off, to highlight that when we're speaking about language and promotional materials, let's not forget also that we have an audience of Spanish destinations across the region. We are getting close to the end time of the session. We want to allow for some questions. And I'm going to ask this one of Sanovnik and any of the other panelists. Let's try to be as succinct as possible so that we can get to 3 or 4 more questions that we have. You mentioned about some marketing activities. What sort of marketing budget and strategy would you recommend a business considers in implementing some of these strategies? And diverse media, any ideas or recommendations there?
And are you talking at a hotel level or destination level?
Let's talk about the hotel level, and then we can ask Christopher for some insights from a destination perspective.
Okay. So as I mentioned, online marketing is very cost effective. It's typically charged on a cost per click or cost per 1,000 impressions basis, and it's much more affordable than trying to target the US, UK. So for us, if I had to to guesstimate. I don't tend to break down our marketing by destination, but it would not be more than 10 to 15% of our total marketing budget that I'd say is targeted at the Caribbean. However, it is at least half or more of our social media marketing budget that is focused on that. So giving a figure may not necessarily be relevant because it depends on the size of your hotel. But if that is an important market to you, and again, remember, this was 35% of our total arrivals. So, we're not spending 35% of our marketing budget, but we are giving a decent amount, at least 10 to 15% of it. I don't know. I don't want to preempt what Chris will answer on a destination level, but I've always tended to find, I agree with Trevor here, that the Caribbean is tended to be underfunded in terms of marketing, intra-Caribbean marketing at a destination level. Of course, he can get into that perhaps, but it has been from the time that I was on the tourism authority. But it doesn't necessarily need a lot to stimulate it either, but it certainly needs a little more than we've traditionally put into it. In terms of types of media, as in what medium? Was it online, digital? I've tended to find digital the best, but influencer marketing has been unbelievably productive. We are looking at other things right now, collaborations, with collaborations in Ireland, perhaps with supermarkets or real estate companies or other places where you can offer prizes, for example, as a way of getting your brand out there. And we do actually do a fair bit of radio as well. Yeah, we do radio and we are doing television now with Sportsmax. I think the Tourism Authority is as well. So we do some television ads as well, which is new. We had never actually done a television ad anywhere in the world until we started doing this Caribbean focused one coming out of the pandemic. And that's produced some very good results for us so far.
Perfect. Christopher, any comments from a destination perspective? And if you can also, how can hotels work with their destination?
From the St. Lucia Tourism Authority's perspective, we focused on the Caribbean market. As Mr. Destan pointed out, we use both traditional and social media. We have a comprehensive social media budget, and we target several of our key markets with it. And we also do non-traditional, not non-traditional, but traditional media as well. So we're talking about in a country like Trinidad, we're on TV in Trinidad, on radio in Trinidad. In Martinique, for example, we're on radio and TV as well. So we're doing, we have a fully integrated marketing campaign to get people from the Caribbean into St. Lucia.
Perfect. Jesse, you mentioned travel agencies, and it's such an important segment that grew out of the pandemic because people were looking for experts that will help them craft and create that package. Yeah. Any insights that you can offer in terms of how businesses can support and get more collaboration with travel agencies?
Well, so part of Sun Group, actually, one of the main companies that make up Sun Group is actually Going Places Travel, which is one of the largest travel agencies in the Caribbean. And so I work closely with them. They actually in Barbados would send guests from Barbados to our St. Lucia branch. And there was a lot of collaboration there. I think with regards to how can we improve that, we would just have to make contact and, introduce ourselves, send our pricing, schedule calls, that sort of thing.
Sanavnik, any insights from a hotel perspective on working with travel agencies?
Yeah, so actually, Big Art's been around about 26 years or so, and the travel agencies traditionally were our biggest source of business from the French Caribbean for a long time. But in the last, I've been with the business for the last 14 years, and I've really seen it shift online. But we're really trying to stimulate that relationship with the travel agencies and tour operators. And for the Trinidad market, I've actually found the travel agencies to be more receptive and responsive than actual tour operators. Some of them are a bit of both, but we've actually seen a surprising amount from some top travel agencies who are very active on social media in Trinidad. coming out of the pandemic and producing very good results. So they're still a very important part of the market because of their ability to package with flights and when you're dealing with groups, for example. So they're certainly not going to go away in either Trinidad or the French Caribbean markets. But I am still though seeing an increasing number of people from the Caribbean opting to book independently and book online. So they're certainly not dead in our eyes, and we still maintain that relationship with them. But I think they need to also adapt and also make more use of the technology and be as seamless in terms of booking as an online travel agency, for example.
Perfect. And our last question, Alicia and Trevor, demand has come up quite frequently in our discussions that we need to reach the capacity that we had pre-COVID. What are the obstacles? What are the opportunities? What sort of load factors are we looking for in the future?
Alicia?
I mean, as I said, IATA's predictions are real, in that we really, in order for us to fill the demand, we need to see the passengers coming back. We've seen where we put the flights and we're just not seeing the passengers. So that if we, however, get the support from the governments and from the agencies to help us with the risk that we're seeing, it's going to help us. So that these type of collaborations would, in terms of assistance, would really, really help us based on the recovery and based on what we're seeing over the next few years.
Trevor, and what's impacting that demand? Is it cost? Is it the requirements to entry?
Well, for us, it's been an evolution of continuous growth. We started out as an airline 30 years ago, so we're neither a teenager nor a grandparent at this point, but we've continued to grow our footprint across the region, and it is that the Eastern Caribbean, our presence is about 18 months in a more solid way. We've been in some cities longer, but we do have additional airplanes joining the fleet, and some of this has been simply a matter of onboarding additional capacity, recalling pilots, training new pilots, and dealing with the ugly side of actually finding spots in a simulator, as it's taking up to 6 months into the future to get those spots. And in a practical place in our world, this is very, very difficult to deal with. So we obviously recognize that the demand is growing or the demand is returning. And so what we're trying to do is add some frequency a little at a time and keep responding to those demands. In some cases, we're tagging flights and we're looking to separate those in terms of destinations. So part of that's tied to the onboarding of airplanes and adding crew. So we're committed to adding capacity where that demand is. And as we see the demand creeping, we're taking the risk to say, okay, let's add some capacity, taking the concept of build it and they will come. We know there was a demand before. We don't know what the new demand looks like, but we're stepping up and adding capacity a little at a time to reflect the growing demand.
Thank you. And we've reached the time allotted for the session. We know we've received a few comments that some of our attendees which have preferred that we extended the length of the discussion. It's not the end of this discussion. It's a topic that we have advocated and will continue to advocate in the future. And of course, the discussions over the last 2 days will help and support CHTA in framing our work moving forward. What would be additional areas of advocating, activities that we can do at Caribbean Travel Marketplace in October, and also creating a more enabling environment such as the Multilateral Air Services Agreement intends to do. As we wrap up, I'm going to ask each one of our panelists for in less than 1 minute, one recommendation. And I'm gonna ask Christopher to start. Christopher, can you mute yourself?
In terms of recommendations, I'm just looking forward to our Caribbean brothers and sisters coming back to St. Lucia for vacation, for entertainment, for nightlife. We missed y'all for the last 2 years, and we really looking to form that connection once again. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and that's what I'm seeing. We're excited about Carnival, and I cannot leave without saying that at the end of April, I believe the date is 29th of April, we will have Groseley Friday night returning again, the legendary Groseley Friday night. So we're looking forward to seeing all of y'all in St. Lucia.
Son of Nick?
My recommendation is I think that we need to share a bit more information between the airlines and the DMOs and slash hotels, because the airlines they haven't really said it, but there's reasons, demand-related reasons why they haven't necessarily put on the additional flights. Yet we're seeing the demand in terms of inquiries. So the Caribbean travel hasn't gone anywhere. The desire to travel is as great as it was before. I think we need to do a better job of sharing information, sharing data, not just at sessions like these, to help stimulate that market again. Because if we don't, and if it continues to take so long to recover, it's going to have a major impact on small indigenously owned hotels and small businesses as well, and would affect, of course, the performance of Groseley Friday Night Street Party, which, as Chris mentioned, is back and was frequently attended by Caribbean travelers.
Thank you, Jesse. You're muted.
Sorry, just echoing what Christopher said. I'm really excited to see regional travel pick back up in the Caribbean, and just that need for this regional thinking concept and collaboration moving forward, and action. Action is really something that we need to make sure we are doing, not just talking, but acting as well.
Alicia?
We're here to serve you. We're really excited to rebuild and to reset travel, and, really here excited to serve the Caribbean. So, just reach out and let's keep this on the agenda.
Trevor?
I think after 2 years of COVID, there comes a new energy from many in wanting to rethink some of, maybe don't just do what you did in the past, but as we've seen here today, come up with new ideas, reinvent what is out there. You have a new audience who haven't been around for a couple of years, so you have a chance for those who've matured into perhaps meeting new opportunities at your destination. So we're open to collaborate together with Caribbean Airlines, with destinations together, to come together and let's not just go after what we had, but let's go after what is out there yet to be touched, and let's open those doors of cooperation, collaboration with everybody.
Thank you, Trevor, and thank you to all of our panelists and you, the audience, for joining us for a second day. The video recording of both sessions, as well as the presentations, will be distributed by tomorrow afternoon. And we invite you to get in touch with us. As I said, this will not be the last discussion on this matter. Here is our contact information. Also follow us on our social media channel. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event. Thank you so much and have a great day.